Hello, it is Jack Gill, and welcome to Redmen Academy. It is Thursday, the 26th of March, for anyone that is struggling to remember the days at the minute. Probably a lot of you I had to check before we came on camera. We're going to do a bit of a start to a bit of a series today. We're going to do top transfer targets in the summer. We've picked three out, and we'll continue to three out every week, every couple of weeks, and see what you get. We've got a mixture of players today. You'll be keen to know, and we're going to start with Ben White. Before James goes on to say the stats of Ben White this season, why he is very keen on Liverpool to sign Ben White, I've just got a bit of background information on him here. Obviously, he got his professional debut in 2016 in the Carabao Cup against Colchester. He was on the books for Southampton at the time, aged 16. He then linked up with Brighton's academy, who he's with now still, of course. In 2017-18 was when he started to break through. He had a season-long loan at Newport County. And Newport boss Mike Flynn said at the time, I've got a quote here saying that he's the best loan signing the club ever made. So it's clear that he's obviously had a past of this. People praising him. Obviously, this season has probably been the one where everyone's had their eyes on him more than any other. But it shows that over the years, he's also he's always been a player that's impressed. He's been linked with Tottenham in the past. But he signed a new contract and agreed to stay and extend his deal with Brighton. But he's failed to be given his Premier League debut in the 18-19 season, featured regularly in the under-23s. Then went out on loan to League One Peterborough and again impressed. Signed a new deal again before going out on loan to Leeds. So he's followed this sort of thing where he's gone out on loan to a League Two side, impressed, League One side, impressed, Championship side, impressed. Now many Premier League teams are looking at him. He's been linked with Arsenal, Brighton have him back. Whether if Leeds go up, they retain him. But obviously, you think he's a perfect fit for Liverpool, and I agree massively. But want to explain why you think he's a perfect signing for us?
Yeah, so he's played every minute possible in the league. He's got an 85.3% pass success, which is only 3% less than Joe Gomez, which, is no bad feat at all when we compare Gomez, being the top sort of ball playing centre backs. He's 2.8 long passes a game. We're looking at 4 tackles interceptions per game compared to Gomez's 2.2. And he's winning 2.8 aerial duels per game as well compared to Gomez's 2.4. So you can see he's sort of an all-round complete defender. And, while he has played, 3 times as many minutes, when you break it down as to per 90 per game, he's outperforming Gomez in nearly every area. And they're both playing for teams in similar situations where they're both top of the league and they're both expected to sort of be on the front foot, look to progress, play further. Then when they are under attack, they're both still performing at a very high level.
The thing with Ben White as well, isn't he? He's a much younger player than the likes, Dejan Lovren, who we assume that he would be replacing. He's 22 years old. And do you think, obviously, if we sell Lovren, who is obviously a very experienced player, he's obviously played in a Champions League final, he's a Champions League winner, he's also played in a World Cup final, he is also a self-proclaimed best defender in the world. Do you think that, obviously, if you replace an experienced player with a younger player, do you think we're risking something there? Or do you think it gives us something where, obviously, Ben White will go toe-to-toe with Gomez and Matip and really improve, obviously, our options?
I mean, Gomez isn't the young player that he was a few years ago. He has played in 2 Champions League finals now, or been part of 2 runs to the Champions League final. He isn't the new kid on the block anymore. He is probably got more experience than most players could dream of throughout their careers. I think when we see him play next to someone that isn't Van Dijk, he still looks assured. He still looks strong. I wouldn't say that losing someone like Lovren and bringing in a young lad would change things up from how it was sort of a year ago, 2 years ago, because Gomez has progressed so much. He isn't the inexperienced, youngster that feels anymore. He is, on our sort of best day, our second choice defender.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, a lot of Liverpool fans are quite critical of Dejan Lovren, but I think everyone will say that to have a fourth choice centre back of Dejan Lovren's calibre shows
Mhm.
exactly how far we've come on in the last few years. Because obviously, it's not long ago we were moaning about squad depth, etc. But it may be a time where, as I said before, Dejan Lovren obviously thinks of himself as a lot better player than most Liverpool fans. So whether Dejan Lovren wants to go, he obviously was linked away this summer, so next summer he might really want to go. And I think Ben White would be a really, really good replacement for him. As you say, he's young, hungry, and he's shown this season that he's a very good player. Marcelo Bielsa, who is obviously a very well-known coach, a very good coach, seems to have found another Pete James.
Yeah, and obviously Arsenal looking at him too. Which
Yeah,
when you look at Arteta, his links to Guardiola, they do seem to like these ball playing centre backs who are also good in the challenge and good in the air. I.e. Laporte, for example.
yeah,
I think the fact that he's been linked with so many top teams after, not really playing in the Premier League says all you need to know, really. The stats make up for his lack of experience, I think. And the 20 million price tag isn't really 20 million is not what 20 million was 5 years ago
yeah.
or 10 years ago, is it?
Absolutely. Obviously, I deem the partnership of Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez as one of the best in the world, James, if not the best at times. Do you think White would realistically push Gomez for that spot to partner Van Dijk, or do you think at first, obviously, he'll come in under Gomez, and when he's given his opportunity, he'll he'll hope to sort of push Gomez out?
I think he'd very much be the player that Lovren is now, where he plays the cup games. He plays next to Gomez, perhaps, for these domestic competitions, and then we'd still see Gomez and Matip battle it out for the Champions League and the important Premier League games. He's probably not going to make more than 15 appearances if he was to sign next season, because realistically, you can't have all four centre backs playing that much. And Matip deserves, as much respect as we can give him, because when he has performed the last sort of 2 years now, he's been at the very top level, hasn't
For me, that's why obviously I think he might join Arsenal.
he? Yeah.
I feel as though obviously for a young player he might want to. Obviously, there's options, isn't there? Because he could join obviously the best team in the world. He could obviously be happy to sort of at first not necessarily get starting spot all the time, but be a part of a squad that wins things and push for that starting spot and do his best to obviously get that over Joe Gomez and seize the opportunity when he gets it. Or he can join an Arsenal side where he'll probably be one of their first choice centre halves, as you say. Arteta seems to love that sort of centre back. However, Arsenal don't really have many of them at the minute, and I know obviously they signed that one from Flamengo, but obviously he's had a couple of injury problems, and I think he's only played 2 games so far for Arsenal. So it's one of them circumstances where I think it'll be interesting to see where he joins.
Yeah.
But the papers and journalists at the minute seem to think that Liverpool are the most likely destination. So it'll be interesting to follow that one in the next couple of weeks and months, or however long this continues. Obviously, we don't know what is going on at the minute with football at all, really. But again, it shows, James, and I'll link this to obviously news that has just come out because this is our video of the day. But obviously, we've got the news that all football under conference level has been voided this season now. I pointed you in the attention of Ian Doyle before we went on air, where he said that sees it as that being that every other league will obviously make sure that they finish the season. There's a couple of people, though, who are obviously quite rightly panicking that the Premier League and the EFL will follow that.
Yeah.
But Ben White is an example where he's had a very good season. He's put those stats on the table. He's shown that he's a very good player. And to avoid stuff like that, we spoke yesterday about Curtis Jones and how it must be horrible for you to go through a season doing so well, getting numbers, and then they're just forgotten about. Ben White may be another example of that, James.
Yeah, I hope not, because I think he's clearly a very good player who'd come in, do a job for us, address a need that we probably have in the defence, where we want to bring in someone young to compete for a starting berth. Makes financial sense, and he would get minutes too. It's not like he'd come on and not make the travelling squad week to week. I think he would be here to play, and he'd be here to push on Gomez to challenge Matip, who might move on in a couple of years' time himself, if White fulfills this potential because he's on an upward trajectory. I mean, he doesn't look like he's going to be slowing down because he seems to get better and better every time he plays.
Absolutely. We'll move on now to a certain Jadon Sancho. The reason I'm picking him is because we've obviously had some news today. James, what do you make of Jadon Sancho, obviously, before I go on to what the news story was today? Do you think he's a player that we should be looking for?
I mean, he's the type of player we should be looking at, definitely. Anyone of his profile, of his calibre, should be on our radar. It's just a matter of, if he comes, what does that mean? Or does something else prompt us to move for him? I'd be overjoyed if we were to get him, but then the consequences of that, we might be losing, obviously one of Mane or Salah. I think he'd come in for Mane personally. Even though he can play on either flank, he seems to be playing more as a left winger as opposed to a right-sided midfielder. But he's putting in same number of goals as Mane, 14 each in the league. But then he's got 15 assists to Mane's 7, and he's played 200 less minutes. So it's hard to compare the two of them because they clearly have different roles in the team. You think of Mane as more of a creator, but Sancho's creative output is incredible, putting out 2.3 key passes a game compared to Mane's 1.6 as well as 0.7 more dribbles per game. And we think Mane is this incredible dribbler, but Sancho's making him look like amateur, in heightless.
He loves a goal and assist, doesn't he? There's not many games that Sancho goes. He loves an assist. Sorry, there's not many games that Sancho goes without a goal or an assist. He's a very good player, and we've praised him a lot, James, over the last since we've done this channel really, because he was one of them that took a risk. Obviously, moved from Man City where he wasn't getting much game time, went to the Bundesliga, which at that period of time, not many English players did. He took risk, and he's sort of been where people look, where young English players now look and go abroad to follow the Sanchez sort of mould, where he went and did that. He's impressed, and then we saw obviously Reece Nelson who tried the same sort of thing. I think with Jadon Sancho, obviously now he's got 5 or 6 top Premier League clubs looking at him. Bayern Munich are linked with him constantly, and then there's Barcelona and Real Madrid who no doubt have eyes on him as well. But obviously, because of the fact he's English, of course he's always going to get those links to the Premier League. And the news today, obviously, again, I've probably got this name wrong. Norwegian journalist Jan Arg Fjortoft. I don't know, but he said Ari Sancho, price 130 million euros. He says Manchester United are working very hard to get him. I've got a bit of that in a moment. He says Liverpool is still most likely destination, but have to sell either Mane or Salah. It's new that Dortmund see this stop of the season as a chance to try and persuade him to stay another season. Now, there's no doubt, James, that as an English talent, Jadon Sancho will want to prove himself in the Premier League. I think I've seen loads on social media in the last few weeks that Manchester United are desperate to get him. You can see when Sancho posts anything, full of Manchester United fans in it seems to me as though Sancho is probably their main target this summer. Obviously, there's questions in this, and this is why some people will be keen that the season's not voided, because obviously there was that very brilliant fight for fourth where you had Sheffield United, Wolves, Chelsea, Manchester United all fighting for that. You also have obviously what isn't known at the minute with Manchester City, whether they're going to get a Champions League spot or whether it's going to fifth. So there's so many questions, and this is why it'd be brilliant if the season should continue, and this is why the season should continue. But obviously, I've done a few videos with my mate Karthik, who is also a United fan. He's desperate for him to be signed as well. But do you think, obviously, Sancho is more likely to join us or United? Obviously, we've got that whole thing whether we have to sell Mane or Salah to sign him, which makes sense because obviously Sancho has all these offers. He'll want first-team football somewhere. I can't see us selling Mane or Salah. So what do you think, James?
I mean, I think if anyone's going to be sold, it'd probably be Salah, purely because I think his market value and his brand value for any club going after him is a lot higher. But I think Mane's my favourite player in this team, and I think he gets the Liverpool way, maybe more than Salah. But I don't like comparing the two players. I think if he was to come in, it'd be for Mane. Sancho seems like a more natural left-sided winger, as opposed to a sort of just a wide player.
Don't forget though, and this might be something that goes into it. Me and Pajak have been talking for Chris more than me, a few months. Sorry, that he likes a 4-2-3-1. Now, from my perspective, I think the 4-2-3-1 is what we'll move on to next season. And then obviously you have the ability to drop Firmino into the 10, and play Mane off the right, Salah through the middle up front, and Sancho could of course play on the left. That would be the way forward if you go through it. I cannot see we go. I do not think we will. Most people agree with me on that. Just to pick up on points, obviously, this isn't picking on you. A lot of Liverpool fans would obviously pick Salah out of the front three as the player to move on. Is that purely because of market value and obviously global scale? Obviously, Salah is a massive player in Egypt. You only have to see obviously the videos that came out a couple of years ago of Cairo and what Salah is like there, and how approved of he is in Egypt and obviously on a global scale now. Do you think that is why? Or do you think that simply Liverpool fans underappreciate Mohamed Salah?
I think it's a bit of both. I think we do underappreciate Salah, but then at the same time, he's a very frustrating player. And that's nothing against him because it is high risk, high reward. Just me as a fan, the amount of shots that go off target, the wastefulness, very much frustrates me, especially when you go and watch the team at Anfield. You truly understand that the amount of times you'll wiggle into space, get into a brilliant position, and then not convert the chance. Whereas Mane just excites me, and I can't explain why, because they're both incredible world-class players. But Mane, every time he gets the ball, you always feel like he's going to do something progressive, or he's going to cut inside, or play more direct than Salah seems to have played the last year or so. So, yeah, it's hard. I think Salah is massively underrated by our own fan base because his numbers speak for himself. He's got nearly a goal or assist every game he's played, hasn't he? Or it might be dead on that now. But it's going to be a hard decision. It's going to be a sad decision regardless of what happens, really.
For me, with Mohamed Salah, I think, as you say, at times it can be frustrating. I think at times there's a clear pass that you see where he goes for goal and seems to waste an opportunity. But to be honest with you, James, as my perspective on it has changed completely, because you have to look at the numbers, and the numbers he puts in are sensational. They're Suarez level numbers, and we're talking about a player who, yes, I know he's played through the middle at times, but he mostly plays on the right. He doesn't take penalties. Yes, again, he's taken a couple. He's not our main penalty taker, But the numbers he puts in are sensational. His finishing is unbelievable. And you have to say, if you were to get rid of a Mohamed Salah, who is the goal scorer in this team, really, as you say, you look at his stats, he's the goal scorer for this side, and put in a Jadon Sancho, I don't think we'd be anywhere near the team we are now. I really think. And that's why I cannot see the front three going, because, Mane is sort of the creator. He's the speedster, he's the trickster. Yeah. You've got Salah, who, again, holds the ball up very well. You've got Firmino, who creates the space and again, is the creator, but Salah also the finisher. And all three work together so well in unison. And that's why I can't see any of them going. But obviously, this sort of moves us on to Timo Werner, who I think is a more realistic addition. And this is because, obviously, as I say, there are so many teams sniffing around Jadon Sancho, probably due to the fact he's English as well. Market value is obviously more in 130 million euros. Timo Werner is a player that we could get for 50 million, just 50 million, due to a clause in his contract. He's a player that obviously I think at times when you see reports will not necessarily play every game, and he might be willing to accept that more than Jadon Sancho would. James, he is a player that James Pearce this break, we are likely to sign. He is a player that you couldn't get away from the rumours before this unexpected break due to COVID-19. He is a player that I think will be our first signing of the transfer window. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think it makes so much more sense than signing another winger. I think Sancho obviously would be a great addition, but it doesn't address the needs that we have. We have brilliant wingers. We have world-class wingers. What we don't have is a world-class goal scorer. And while Firmino's one of the best forwards in the world, he isn't a goal getter. He isn't someone that you turn to in a game where you need to score goals. He facilitates the wingers. If we can add a direct threat through the middle, it'll take our game to the next level. I think if we can find a way to make him play with the front three as it is, I can't see any way of us dropping off. He's got 21 goals in 25 Bundesliga games with 7 assists too. It's incredible. He's putting up some of the best numbers in the world.
I think as well the thing is obviously to relate it to what we were saying before. Obviously, you sign Jadon Sancho, no problem. As I say, you can play that 4-2-3-1. You can change that system, but you're facilitating a player that in Jadon Sancho where I feel like he will feel like he has to play more. We've seen that obviously when he was younger, he moved from Man City for more game time. He wants regular game time. If Timo Werner comes in, he'd be something completely different. You know, we could play that 4-2-3-1 and facilitate all four of them. Or Werner could be a player that, you know, comes on for the last half an hour. We move into the 4-2-3-1 there. Or the 4-3-3 works. Firmino's obviously dropping in well. We're just lacking goals and we just bring him on to freshen things up. Or, as you say, we play a lot of football. These players are playing so much football. And this break shows exactly how much football players are expected to play in the modern day. You've also got the African Cup of Nations, so we're going to need more players in there. And for me, Werner is a more realistic signing because you look at Sancho, 130 million euros for a player that might necessarily not get as much game time as he wants. Whereas Timo Werner will still get a lot of game time due to the African Cup of Nations, due to injuries, due to us being able to facilitate in a 4-2-3-1, and he's a lot cheaper, James.
Yeah, I mean, Sancho makes sense in some regards, but Werner seems to make sense in every aspect. No matter which way you look at it, we haven't had a goal scorer and striker since, you know, the likes of Torres, Suarez. We've tried, but it's just never worked out because we've never gone for a top talent. Whereas Timo Werner is one of the best strikers in the world. He's clinical, he's fast, he can press. You'd think he's one of our players if you look at the way he plays, and I think everything points towards him being a Liverpool player this summer. I think the team seems to have given up signing him as well, which is the craziest part.
It seems like he wants to join Liverpool. Obviously, he was flirting with it when he played against Tottenham in the Champions League, wasn't he? And I think from a Liverpool perspective, it would be an excellent signing. Obviously, he's a very pacey guy, and as you say, with the pace we already have up front, will be a scary opposition. I've got some stats here, and I apologise, obviously. The video we did a couple of days ago, our stats were slightly wrong. I'd just like to say that me and James obviously use Transfer Market regularly. Our stats, we go from Transfer Market. Sometimes they can be slightly off, but we like to use the same sort of website to go up on and to go off. So we're at least being consistent with the website we're using, and most of the time Transfer Market are reliable and are correct. But they say Werner's played 25 games this season, 21 goals and 7 assists. Now, he's playing under Julian Nagelsmann this season. He's a coach, obviously, that I am very fond upon. I think Nagelsmann is an excellent coach. But obviously, we've seen that Werner's numbers have stepped up this season, obviously, because he's under a very good coach. But he's always been consistently very good for Leipzig. He's always been a goal scorer. He's always put in very good numbers. This isn't an abnormal season by Werner just because he is now producing insane numbers. He's always been a quality number 9, James.
Yeah, he's always averaged at least 20 goals or assists in a season, usually playing 30 to 31 games. So it's nothing abnormal. He's always been a very good player, but now he's sort of getting into that world-class bracket now, which he hasn't done before. Last season, he got 16 goals, 7 assists. Season before, which is his first season in the top flight with Leipzig, he got 13 goals and 7 assists. So he's consistently brilliant. And now he's just, I don't know how, whether it's under Nagelsmann specifically, that he's brought us out of him, but he's just stepped up and he's rivaling Lewandowski for the best striker and now in the Bundesliga. and one of the best in the world, isn't he?
Absolutely. And I know Chelsea are very keen on him as
Yeah.
well. But as you say, in the few weeks before this break, they seem to call their interest on him. There is a little something that I want to talk about, James. And, I think we've spoken enough about Timo Werner on the main Redmen account. So I'm not going to talk about him too much and what he brings to Liverpool, because everyone's probably heard enough over on the main Redmen channel. And if you want to hear more on Timo Werner, I suggest you head over to the main Redmen channel, because we have done so much over the past few months on him. But obviously with this break, and not many people have spoken about this, James, but with this break, obviously he had that clause in his contract. Apparently, if you listen to the media, it seems legitimate, because so many different sources are reporting it. But I believe it's obviously that 50 million clause is up at the end of April or something like this. With this break, obviously that might complicate things, James.
Yeah, and I think to act in good faith, I think the club would extend this. I think his agent would definitely, this would have already been discussed by his agent, no doubt. And it's just whether or not the clubs are already aware of this, because we always seem to be the last to find out about transfer clauses. They're not publicly known, are they really? I don't think the club would even expect him to be sort of facilitating a move now. I don't think it'd be a problem at all. But at the same time, I think the club would have already put in some groundwork on the signing, because we have been tracking him for what feels like 2 years now.
The thing I find interesting about Timo Werner as well, James, is obviously we signed Minamino, who at the time I think everyone thought would be Mane's understudy off the left.
Yeah.
When we first signed him. Obviously, since then, since signing him, he's always seemed to play through the middle in sort of a Firmino role.
Yeah.
So signing Werner as well would be like, oh, we've just signed someone who could be Firmino's understudy, and now we've got another player who could. But do you think that was that's obviously just Jurgen Klopp using what he's got at the minute, and then in the summer, obviously Minamino will be shifted onto the left to being obviously Mane's understudy, or is it just you, as I always refer to, obviously, this is our way of saying, look, when Jurgen Klopp first came in, we had an all right team, a really shit squad. He then improved it, made it so we had a very good team, but still lacking on a squad perspective. When players got injured, we struggled. Now we have both, and we need to make what we've got even stronger season by season.
Yeah, I think with Minamino, he was obviously brought in as a winger, as we thought, and he's played through the middle. But Werner's being brought in as a striker, but he can also play on the wing too. And I think these signings are just typical Jurgen Klopp signings.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where they play, because we know that they can do a job there regardless. And the versatility is probably one of the reasons why we've made a move for them in the first place, really. We don't seem to sign players who can play only one position, unless it's, a core, player like the likes of Van Dijk, or bringing through Trent. We haven't got many not very versatile players, so it always seems that we have a solution to any problem, because we have that depth on the pitch. We can move players around or bring on someone from the bench, and we can completely change the way we're playing.
Absolutely. I think, James, to that's a great way to obviously close today's show. But let's rate the players out of 10, whether they're likely to join Liverpool. Werner, I'm going to go straight with a 9. I think I think he is absolutely nailed on to sign for Liverpool in the summer. You're similar?
Yeah, same, 9. No one else seems to really be tracking him anymore. We've been after him that long. I think he's got his heart set on the move. So, 9 for me.
Ben White, I'm going to go with a 7.
Yeah, I'm going to go 7.5, because I do seem optimistic and it makes sense for me.
And then for Jadon Sancho, I'm going to go a 4 out of 10. I do not think he'll sign for Liverpool.
Yeah, I'm being boring, but I'm going for a 4 as well. It's a nice idea, but in practicality, it doesn't really make much sense for us.
Okay, thank you very much. Obviously, we'll be back next week. We'll be picking 3 more targets. If there is a target you want us to talk about next week, comment a name or 3 names if you want to, and we will pick and talk about them next week. We're going to be back tomorrow. We'll be doing a youth show tomorrow, so that will go over on the website. However, we will pick a snap of that. It will be about COVID-19 and that will go on the YouTube tomorrow. So do stay tuned for that. And we have obviously a video a day coming up until this madness is all over. So we will obviously keep you entertained with all that. We have a lot of plans for the future. But as I say, as always, if there are any ideas for any videos, we will do absolutely anything. So comment below and we'll give it a go. Cheers again, James, for today. And I hope you enjoyed the content, everyone. We'll see you soon. So.